Hello, Longhorns. This is Miss Clay here. Today, we're going to be talking about circles in the coordinate plane equations. So we've been talking about circles for a while already. So now we're going to keep adding to our knowledge of them. All right, so let's get started. Okay, first thing first, we need to understand the equation of a circle. It's also called the standard form of the equation of a circle. So if you see standard form or you see equation of a circle, they're the same thing, okay? So the key part is that the center is referenced H and K and the radius R, which we've been discussing already. So this is our formula. So we have X minus H squared plus Y minus K squared is equal to the radius squared. Make sure we notice that this is the radius squared. So if we saw this on a circle, the way we would see it would be the center would be right here. And so this coordinate right here would be H and K, right? And then we'd have the radius, which would be right here. And then we'd have to figure out what other opponents we needed later on the circle. But we'll get into that later. So just so that we know, I'm going to write it here. H is equal to the X coordinate of the center of the circle, okay? Then K is equal to the Y coordinate of the center of the circle. One more time. And then finally, we all should remember this. R is equal to the radius. And the biggest thing, make sure we remember for the equation, R is squared, okay? So let's keep moving. All right, so I've put the equation up here all the time on our slides to help us remember it. So the more we see it and the more we write it, it helps us remember it, right? So we're gonna write the standard form of the equation of a circle. Okay, so we have the center is 5 and minus 3 and the radius is 7. So we have our equation up here. So let's look. So we just do X. And what is the X coordinate? Would be 5. So the formula is minus. So we plug in 5 just like that. Squared plus Y. And it's minus. Well, what do we know about the Y coordinate? It's minus already. So we have to plug it in like that. And I'm going to do 2 brackets just so that everyone realizes that we have those 2. And so then it's R squared as our formula. So this is going to be 7 squared. Okay, so now let's go on and simplify this. So simplify. Okay, so let's simplify. We have X minus 5 squared plus we have Y, and a minus times a minus is a plus. That turns positive. And now 7 times 7 is 49. And this would be our answer, okay? That's our standard form equation. Right, let's do another one. Okay, so this is another way you could see it on your homework assignment. Write the equation of the circle. It still means the standard equation. So if you see write the equation of the circle, it's still referring to the same thing as standard equation, all right? You could see it just like this. Center is 3.5 and radius is 6. So all we do, here's our equation. Let's plug it in. We have X minus 3 squared plus Y minus 5 squared is equal to the radius, which is 6 squared. Okay, so let's simplify. And really the only thing we really have to, oopsie, I wrote a 5 right there. Let's erase that. Oopsie. Let's go back. I think I was looking at the other 5. There we go, squared. There we go. Plus Y minus 5 squared. And now we just have to have 6 times 6 is 36. And a lot of y'all will do that in one step. I'm just trying to make sure we're all on the same page. And so I did it in two. All right. Here's some more. This is another way that you can see your problems. Okay. Here's our equation. I wrote it up at the top. So this is in standard form. This time we need to work the other way and find the center and find the radius. Okay, so let's look at our problems. So the formula is minus h for our x component. So I'm going to go right here. This one's going to be, this center is equal to minus 4. I'm going to underline him. So it's just going to be 4. And this y component is minus 3, but the formula is minus. So that means this is just 3. Okay. Now let's do our radius. So the formula says r squared. So if you remember from a minute ago, we had 6 times 6 is 36. So the square root of 36 is what? 6. So I'll write it over here. 6. All right, let's do the next one. So we have x plus 4. So this is a minus, right? Because the formula should be x minus. So that means we had to have another minus right there, right? So that means the center has to be minus 4 right here, okay? And x minus 3, well, this one's fine, okay? Fits in just fine. Okay, so now what about the radius? What is the square root of 16, which is 4, right? Perfect square. Now look at this one. We have x squared plus y squared is equal to 4. Well, this one we don't have this whole terms. But what we notice is that if we were to write this x minus 0, we get this. And we have y minus 0, we get that. So this is really writing it like that because 0 squared is 0. So all that meant that these terms were 0, which meant it's our center is at our origin. Okay. All right. Because we don't have a 0 term in our equation, that means our center is at the origin. Okay. And the radius is, what's the square root of 4? Well, that's 2, right? I'll write it over here. Radius is equal to 2. All right, moving on. Hold on a second, I lost the mouse. Here we go. Okay, so now let's derive the equation of a circle centered at the origin. So that last problem led us straight into our next one, which is really great. Okay, so see, our origin is right here, 0, 0, and we notice our radius. So our radius, remember, is the same no matter where we draw the line. Well, our x and y coordinate is the outside or the sides of our circle right here. So what we need to do in order to do this is we need to use the distance formula. Use the distance formula. Do you all remember that? You all thought you never use that again. We've already had that before, right? To find an equation. Okay, and we're going to use the center 0, 0, which is given to us. And so we need to find what r is. So all we have to pick is any point on our circle. But for the setting up of the formula, we're just going to say this is x and y. Okay, so the coordinate is x and y. All right, so with our distance formula, does everyone remember the distance formula? Let's write it up here. So the distance formula is equal to, oopsie, there we go, x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. Okay, remember all that? All right, there we go. So now we're going to substitute r for the distance right here, okay? So we're going to use the same formula. So this now we're going to do is, and we're going to use x2 and y1, all right? So let's say this is what it'll look like. R is equal to x minus 0 squared plus y minus 0 squared. Okay? So if we simplify that, this looks a lot like what our last problem looked like. We have the square root of x squared plus y squared, right? So we need to square both sides. So let's say square both sides, And so now we have r squared is equal to x squared plus y squared. Okay, so center 0, 0 is equal to squared y squared is equal to r squared. Okay, so that gives you a good understanding of what we did in our previous problem. All right, now let's solve the equation for a circle centered at a different point. And we have our r is our radius, and now our center is at a different spot. There we go. Okay, is at a different location. So our center is up here. And so we're going to use the same thing that we did before. So we're going to use the distance formula. I'll write it again. Plus y2 minus y1. Okay, and remember, we're going to substitute the r for d. So we can just rewrite it like that. Okay, and so this time we're going to use our coordinate h and k for our x1 and our y1. All right, so let's plug it in. And so now we know how to set up any problem that we get. 3 squared. Oh, I'm going to show you the add a little longer. So that way when we plug in our numbers, you'll have it. Okay, so we square both sides. Now square both sides, square both sides. And you can do it now or you can simplify whichever one you want. But let's square it both now. So then we're left with x minus squared plus y minus y squared. All right, so our final equation is this. Okay, then let me put the sides right there. I forgot to write that while I was saying it. Okay, next one. So now we have an example where we get to use it in real life. Okay, so let's write the equation that we just had. Write it up here, that we solved. X minus h squared and y minus k squared. So remember, we derived those equations so we know how to solve them or create them, but most importantly, now we can just copy them down. We don't have to derive them each time. So let's look on our graph and see where our center is. So our center is at 1 and -3, 1 and -3, okay? And where is our other coordinate? Our other coordinate is up here at 2 and 2. So our other coordinate is at 2 and 2. All right, so let's plug in our values. Okay, so we have 2 minus 1 squared plus 2 minus, oh, we have a -3, so we have to make sure we remember that. And I'm going to give us 2 parentheses to make sure we recognize that. Okay, so let's start to simplify. So 2 minus 1 is 1 squared plus, let's see what we have here. So we have a minus and a minus, so that is a +3. So now we have 2, I'll write it right here, +3. What's that equal to? 5. So let's write 5 squared right here. So 1 squared is 1, 5 squared is 25. So let's do this over. So we have radical 26. Well, and if we stick that in our calculator, we'll get r is equal to 5.09. And most of the time we round to the nearest 10. So we can say we round up to 5.1. okay? But I also want to show you another method, and we worked on this last time in some of our graphing. We could have solved for the radius by counting also. So if we look, this is on an exact grid line. And so we could come over this way, or we could come straight up this way to the edge of our circle, right? And we would see we go straight out. So I'm gonna just count. So we can count also, we can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so by counting, we got 5, counting, which is basically what we got here. If we were to round to the nearest whole number, this would be 5, right? Okay. Let's do one more example. This will help you during your science assignment. So what is the center and the radius of the circle with the equation x minus 2 squared plus y minus 3 squared is equal to 100? And then we have to graph it. Okay, so I might not graph so well, but let's try and do the first part first. So let's look at our equation. Does everyone remember our equation now? So we have it right here. So all we have to do is the center, remember it's minus, so that's just going to be 2, and it's minus, so that's just going to be 3. All right, now radius, in our equation, this is equal to r squared, right? So what's the square root of 100? 10. So I'm going to put the radius, so we know r squared is equal to 100, so r is equal to 10. All right, so let's plot out our little thing. So we go over to 2 right here, and then we go up to 3. So this is our center point. And then we need to pick any way. And I'm going to go down this way. I hope this one fits. Oh, let's go this way. And so let's go over 10. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, and 10. Okay. So that's 8. And unfortunately, my circle is not going to be big enough. Let's see if I can go down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. When I meant my circle, I meant my graph paper is not going to be big enough. So you won't have that problem on your assignment. You'll just keep going around like this, and it'll be a nice big circle. Okay, Miss Clay didn't draw it around us, but you can count all the way around and you draw your little circle. Yours won't be this big on your assignment. Okay. Finally, I have some equations for you, some formulas, just to make sure you have them in case you need them, in case you didn't catch them earlier in the video. All right, that's all for now. Remember that equation of a circle is one of your 5 words that you have to have for your project. Have a great day, Longhorns.